This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and the following program is brought to you by the Verdoliak Law Group, fighting insurance companies since 1963, and TickSplits.com. TickSplits.com, no service fees. The price you see is the price you pay.
This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Bixon. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and we're going to talk a little baseball today. Yu Darvish, his rehab apparently has gone so well, he can speak English now. And over on the south side, what about this kid, Eloy Jimenez? He may not be in the starting day lineup, but he could be in the lineup for a long time with the Chicago White Sox. The young phenom looks ready to have a breakout season. We'll talk about the NBA All-Star Game. And no offense, but is the NBA All-Star Game worth watching given they don't play defense? We've got that and a lot more to cover with Mike North. How are you, my friend?
Aldo, always great to talk to you, my friend. And also, we want to thank everybody once again from Verdoliak Law Group and TickSplits for sponsoring this fine program. You sound great. You sound ready to go. You sound refreshed. You sound like you got some sleep. And you know what? We go on, about 3-4 hours?
That's right.
Asleep. You started out as a baby getting 18 hours. We're down to 4. That's not a good sign.
Isn't that weird? The older you get, the less
when you're
sleep.
A baby, you sleep 22 hours. By the time you're 60... you're walking around outside trying to get yourself tired to get 2 hours.
How true is that?
How many guys walk around? When you see a guy walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning and he's not drunk and he's walking down the desolate street, he couldn't sleep.
How much time of sleep do you get? How much sleep do you get?
I got to be honest with you. When I was working for a living, instead of having checks come in the mail, and I want to thank, of course, the fine Vegas Scores and Odds. I got a very nice check the other day. Thank you very much,
nice.
Gentlemen. You have more trouble sleeping. All my buddies who are in their late 50s or early 60s, or, well, I call 65, 66, early 60s, but I'm lying. We just got together the other night. We went bowling out in Deer Park. We got this group of guys that we grew up with since we were 10, 12 years old, and there was only 7 of us there. There's but some couple of our guys still work and everything else. But when we talk about stuff, we used to talk about the team we were going to play in Little League, or the team, trying out for the football team at Senn High School or at Gordon Tech, or where our guys went. Now we talk about how much sleep we're getting, or what's wrong with you, and so had a knee operation, and he's having trouble rehabbing. But you know what? It's the same group of guys, and you see yourself progress or regress, because nobody, you know what I hear? I get a kick out of people. They go, you hear somebody dies. He was 86. Yeah. God, that's young. No, it's not. It's not young. No, you were lucky to get past 70. It's not young. You bought time. It was the gravy on top of the mashed potatoes, and it was the cherry on top of the sundae. He was 97. God, he almost made it to 100. He's lucky he got that close, okay?
You nailed it, man.
Come on. He's young. No, he's not. When I was 22, and I met a guy that was 66, of course not as hip and cool as me, I'd say to him, this guy's not long for this world, and I'd walk away. Come on. Instead, we all think we still got it at 80 or 90. Very few of us, very few people in their 60s got it together like Aldo and I. Okay, take the lie detector off.
I remember when I was young, I said to myself, I don't think I'll ever live long enough to see like the year 2001 or stuff. Did you ever think that way when you were in your 20s and 30s?
I thought that way when I was 11. I was just happy when the old man said hi to me. But believe me when I tell you this. When you're young, you say you're not going to live to be past 40. When you're past 40, you say, I'm not going to live to be past 60. When you're 60, you say, I don't want to live to be 100. And if I do, I want to be in good health. Listen, I don't care if I'm in bad health. It beats the alternative. I'll fight my way through it if I have to. I want to live to be 130. I just can't figure out the formula.
That's hilarious.
You know what hilarious. I tell Phoebe? I love life so much, and people know that. I love life. If you don't appreciate life like a lot of people don't, which is bewildering, no matter what your situation, if you don't appreciate you're one of a select group of people or whatever we are, humans, that was allowed to be on this earth instead of an insect or an antelope or a deer that's running through the forest with gunshots going over his head, then there's something wrong, man. There's something wrong. And I told my wife, if there's ever a situation where it looks like I committed suicide, don't believe it. Don't believe it. Somebody did me. That's it.
That's hilarious.
I could have 9 terminal diseases. I'm fighting. I'm not hanging myself by my closet doorknob with a belt because I got an illness. Give me a break.
That's gorgeous stuff, man.
Can't I just talk sports and get things going?
All right, let's talk some sports.
The way you steer me. You had to ask that one question. Here we go again.
Well, Heidi Zimmerman in the chat room loves it. She's cracking up.
My God.
All right.
He was 96 and so young. No. He had, the last time he had sex, he was in a covered wagon. No.
All right, let's talk about Heidi says exactly.
Wow.
All right, so you're talking about health. It looks like Yu Darvish is coming into the 2019 season fully healthy. I mean, he's even talking English now to reporters. I was like, wow, that's one hell of a rehab. He learned how to speak English.
Yeah, the guy learned how to say hello and goodbye, and I don't feel well. And now all of a sudden he knows the English language fluently. All I'm going to say is this. I don't believe a word of it. He's a head case. I called it. I said they should have kept Arrieta. And everybody, they stunned. They don't want it. They offered him a ton of money. Where is that evidence that they offered him a ton of money?
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe they gave Yu Darvish, Theo Epstein gave Yu Darvish, a man with multiple head case situations and occasional physical injuries that usually aren't bad enough to keep a guy like Jake Arrieta off the mound. And you know what? That's the reason why they can't go out and get anybody else right now, maybe, because they signed 3 bad contracts, whether you like it or not. Hayward, Chatwood, and Darvish.
Yep.
Bad contracts, and if you're Ricketts, you go to them, this is the team, this is what we got, and this is what we're going with. And I happen to think this year, the Cubs in one deal were picked for last place in our division. These people are all out of their minds. If they put it together and if they got any competitive spirit and if they change their attitude, and especially Anthony Rizzo, who wants to laugh. I never saw a Yankee when it was 1-1 in the playoffs, 1-1 in extra innings, laugh in the dugout when the other team had men on base. So I think there's a change of attitude.
Yeah.
I think that they talked to Joe Madden about leadership, and I think they're going to have a super year.
Yeah, and then you were talking about what they paid Darvish. That's a 6-year, $126 million contract, and he was 1-3 with a ERA at about 5, and I think it was 4.95.
You know who he is?
Who is he?
Only he's a little bit, but he's not. He's hurt more often. That's the Jay Cutler deal.
Oh my goodness.
The guy that's going to take you nowhere. Except I'll give Jay Cutler credit. 10 times tougher than Yu Darvish.
Oh, my gosh.
10 times tougher, just not as interested in competing as Yu Darvish is, but Yu Darvish's head gets in the way.
Mm-hmm. Now, Darvish said in the interview, I'm not even going to play it. I have it here, but it's just...
You're just sick of the guy already. You're sick of... Wait, play me a little bit.
Okay.
Humor me.
All right, here it is.
Just cut it off. I'll tell you when to cut it off if he starts trolling on. You
okay.
And then I was so excited, and then...
That's enough. That's enough. Let it go. I'm so excited. Yeah, you're excited to be able to stand upright. It was a bad pickup. They let Jake Arrieta the balls of that team. Who's the guy that had the cojones on that team.
Yeah,
two guys, Lester and Arrieta.
Yeah.
Believe me, and Arrieta, when he stood on the mound, those batters looked at him and said, ooh. Now, I know he was 10 and 11 last year, but his ERA was under 4 with the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supposed to be a guy that lost velocity. And here's the sad part. Go back and look at all the columnists, from Paul Sullivan to anybody else. And I like Paul, sort of. but they gotta be honest. And you should read the columns saying Arrieta's lost money off his fastball.
Yeah.
I mean, lost mileage off his fastball. He's not the same. All this propaganda by the writers to set up the Darvish thing. And they never wrote that Darvish is a complete head case, period.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, here's a tough question, do you think that...
I'm already in trouble with the Cubs, and they got a new network. I was going to try to get me and you a show there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you
Well, you just
story.
ruined that.
You got a better... Yeah, the new Cub network, Aldo and Mike, fired after 1 day.
Fired before they began negotiations.
It's called We're Going to Tell You the Truth on the Cub network. Fired after 1 day.
Do you think that there are sports writers who are doing some of the, for lack of a better word, bidding for the Chicago Cubs? In other words, they are basically, like you used the word propaganda. Do you think that they sometimes write stories or report stories that perhaps the team club, kind of planted with them? Do you think that goes on?
Well, you know that. I mean, you're asking a question you already know, but what we're doing is telling everybody else. I understand
exactly.
that. And it's a good question, Aldo. But you already know the answer to that question. I don't want to name names, but I also said go back and just look at the Arrieta stories. Some of them are gone already. A lot of what happens is once they start doing more columns, they're gone. But I know columnists that panned Arrieta, panned him, a Cy Young Award winner, panned him. Because the club told him he'd lost this, he'd lost that. They also went, some of them went by the club's edict about how the contract was. And they never went to him. Mm-hmm. They never went to him to get a response.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's unfair coverage designed to bring in the new guy. But if you know anything about baseball, and Theo Epstein screwed this one up big time, bad. You don't bring in Hugh Darvish when you got Jake Arrieta. Hugh Darvish would go to the Phillies and not be 10 and 11 like Jake was last year with an under 4 because he wouldn't have performed. He would have quit halfway through the season, period.
Mm-hmm. Do you think...
He's got to prove it to us.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of people going, this is going to be the year. The same people that said this was going to be the year 3-4 years ago about certain athletes. I'm in the show me now, Hugh Darvish, because I've already made my point, and I was right. I was right when I said he was a head case. I was right when I said he was injury prone. I was right when I said he makes a hangnail look like he's got cancer of the testicles. Period.
Well, hangnail or cancer of the testicles?
Wait a minute, I just got a pain in my crotch. Let me change that. I was right I said he pitched like he had the flu. Let's get off the bad diseases.
One last thing about Darvish. He said that he's hoping to have 33, 34 starts this season. What are the odds on that, Mike North?
I'll bet the under. I hope he does it, though. It's not like we're not rooting for it. This is just like my system in gambling.
Yeah.
Look, I see what's going on every year. And it would be hard for me or anybody else to say if a guy said to you, he's going to make over under 30 starts, but you got to put down $1 million. I think most people would put the under.
Oh, my gosh.
Just based on that, because you know what? Pitchers only pitch 4, 5, and 6 innings. How many innings is he going to pitch? I'll give you one better. I'll give you the over-under that he doesn't pitch over 7 innings or over 6 innings 15 times.
Okay.
He's not going to pitch over 6 innings. It's all changed. They're going to bring relievers in. They don't want this guy going long anymore because he feels a twinge. And and the next thing you know, he's Jack Nicholson getting wheeled into a hospital like something's got to give in that movie. It's ridiculous.
Mike, what's happened in baseball with pitchers? When I was a kid, I mean, I remember Ferguson Jenkins having like 20 complete games or something like that. And let me see if I can find his stats.
I got all the stats, Aldo. Don't bother.
He had 30 complete
I'll give
games.
you some stats that are mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Warren Spahn lost to Juan Marichal 1-0 in a 16-inning game, and they pitched the whole game.
Oh, my
okay?
God. Oh, my God.
You can look that up. Spahn versus Marichal. You go, damn, this North, for what I pay him, he's worth everything and more. It's unbelievable. I'll give you another one. Harvey Haddix pitched a no-hitter and lost, and it was 12 innings. Now they'd say, well, they had to pull him in the 10th with a no-hitter. And they'd be heralded for saving the guy's arm. You're not pulling me from a no-hitter. That's like getting a fight with a manager. I see these guys get pulled when they have no-hitters or when they got shutouts and there's a man on second. So that's why I'm hoping they pass this new rule where if you have a relief pitcher come in, he's got to pitch to a minimum
I love it.
of three hitters.
That's love that rule.
Because they ruin the game and make the game longer by coming out every batter and moving guy and bringing in a new pitcher.
You are not kidding, Mike. I mean, that's one of the reasons I've stayed away from baseball for the last several years. It's just the pace of the game is so long. Now, I'm looking up that stat, Mike. You're absolutely right. July 2nd, 1963, Marichal outduels Warren Spahn in a 16-inning thriller, and that had to be a game that you'd pay $100 to go see that kind of pitching. Absolutely. I just can't.
Yeah,
I just don't understand.
And Willie Mays, you're shutting down guys like and for the younger people, for the people in radio now, if terrestrial that are listening to our show, and you should listen to your show because you'll learn from us. Look it up today because you don't know anything about it, most of you. And I could give you other games. I mean, I am. Look, if you want baseball history, it comes off the top of my head. I mean, these guys pitched. Sandy Koufax pitched 300 innings and his arm was falling off. He quit at the age of 29 or 30 years old because he didn't want to take shots anymore. So these guys, it was expected that they have to go out and pitch a complete game. And I'm going to tell you, pitchers get hurt more than they ever did, and it's the way they're trained now. They're trained to only go so far. In anything I do, I'm trained to go the distance. They don't train pitchers to go the distance.
Yeah, that's so true. I'm looking at...
It's like a guy in a 100-yard dash. You're going to race in a 100-yard dash. So what are we going to do for me to win? Well, we're just going to race 60 yards every day.
That's right.
Well, how am I going to win the 100-yard dash? You won't, but, man, you're going to look good for those 6 innings, and then we can go see somebody and say, if we had another 40 yards, he could be really good.
That's so true.
My God.
1971, Ferguson Jenkins for the Chicago Cubs pitches 30 complete games, and Yu Darvish is talking about, I'd like to play in 30 games.
The pussification of America started 20 years ago. I'll give you one better than that. I saw Ferguson Jenkins. Listen to this. He lost 5 1-0 games one year.
Oh, my gosh.
Look it up. Come on, Aldo. I'm throwing the baseball history at you. And I know you say he's going to be wrong one of these times. I think he lost to Bob Gibson 5 times 1-0.
Wow.
Bob Gibson to Ferguson Jenkins. I mean, look these guys up together and see what their records were. You know what they used to say? You know what they do now? In the old days, you put your ace against their ace. Mm-hmm. You know what they do now? They take the ace, and with days off, all of a sudden he's pitching against their 4th guy. You know, when you were an ace back in the day, whether you were Warren Spahn, Bob Feller, Sandy Koufax, you went against the best. When Koufax pitched, usually Marichal pitched. Mm-hmm. When Spahn pitched, usually the top dog from another National League team pitched. Like a guy from Pittsburgh, Bob Friend, or somebody like that. So the studs always pitched against each other.
You are absolutely right. That's when baseball was fun to watch because you were guaranteed marquee matchups. You were guaranteed the best versus the best. And boy, I miss those days because the Major League Baseball is it's such a different game. I mean, I don't understand what's going on.
And then I hear Tim Kirchin this morning. I can't believe that baseball's suffering because of Machado and Harper not being here and the 100 free agents. Hey, I was an owner of businesses and successful. You adjust when you're getting taken to the cleaners after a while. And there's these 10-year contracts are done. And because the agents and the player wants them there, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Owners, you always hear, well, the owners are colluding, or the owners, why aren't they giving Bryce Harper $300 million? Are you kidding me? Why? Because they're smart. And if you can't make it on $200 million, that's on you. Bryce Harper turned down the deal, and all I'm hearing about is everybody else. Oh, I can't believe how boring spring training is. Give me a break. Give me a break. I hope, listen, if they want to sit out, that's up to them.
Right.
Because I've seen guys sit out for full seasons, but they don't have the stones to do that. And Bryce Harper's in his prime. He just overplayed his hand.
Yeah. You know, I don't bemoan any of these players to get the most that the market, has for them. But what I bemoan is that these guys are making that kind of coin, and then when I go to a baseball game, I'm out $250 with the tickets, the parking, the T-shirt, the drinks, the hot dog, and so forth. Me and the family, we can't afford to go to more than one game a year. It's ridiculous, and it's because these contracts are just gone off the map.
I understand where they're coming from. I walked away after making millions of dollars, millions, and saving my money. I walked away from a deal because they wanted to cut my pay in half. And I had people tell me, are you out of your mind? It's still a lot of money. And it was. But I said, how can I get my pay cut? And they never wanted to meet me halfway. Halfway. This was what they wanted. And I said, if I sign on to this, everybody's salary is going to dump. Everybody's.
Yeah.
And if I don't sign to it, okay, I'm going to get hurt a little bit, but I got money in the bank, and I'll just have to just wait it out, do what I got to do, and fun. And I did the right thing because, like I've said before, a couple of my buddies who make a lot of money, one is a lawyer, one's a doctor, said, how can you not accept half of that? I said, how much you charge? And at the time, one guy said, I charge $150. The lawyer. I says, tomorrow I want you to charge $75 to everybody. And he looked at me like I was nuts. So I said, and that was the end of that conversation, and they understood. Period. So when you have money, you can look. These guys all got money. Bryce Harper's set for life already, isn't he?
Yeah.
So if they want to sit out, they can. But I'm not going to give a guy that hit $250 that kind of money. The problem with other negotiations, the bad thing about negotiations is when you hit 300 or when you do a good job for a corporation and you're not rewarded.
Right.
Even with the same salary that you had.
Yeah. Well, over on the South Side, everybody's talking about Manny Machado. And it's almost like there's a huge expectation based on what I'm reading that he is going to go to the White Sox. What is your thought about that? I mean, and the guy is, I saw one report where they're asking somewhere between the $300 to $400 million range over 10 years. I can't imagine that would happen. But what are your expectations? Do you think the Sox are going to land Machado?
If they do, so what? Except that people, my point is, they don't have no pitching. They have a lot of holes everywhere else. They're ineptly run. And it's for ball-washing Sox fans to say they got a player who, by the way, most people said didn't hustle last year, seemed disinterested, and quite frankly tried to hurt somebody at first base. I mean, all I heard was bad crap about this guy, a lot of them from White Sox fans, and all of a sudden, because nobody's outbidding the Sox, I think the Sox, if they really wanted this guy, could have had it done by now. What's stopping the Sox from signing him? Lowballing him. Period, as far as he sees it. That's why they didn't sign it. If the Sox wanted him, they could have had him already.
Well, why?
I don't think the Sox are signing him.
Well, he hasn't signed with the Yankees, another team that has shown interest in him. So maybe this whole collusion talk is right. Maybe they're trying to just lower the market because some of these players are, the top players are overpriced. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, it's not collusion. Look, if I decide, there's a reason that there's not 24-hour, a million 24-hour restaurants anymore, okay? Mm-hmm. Name whatever reasons you want, as much as in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right?
Right.
If you and I want to find a 24-hour restaurant in Chicago, we can find a few, but there used to be hundreds of them. There's a reason that there's not, back in the old days, there were 250 bowling alleys in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how many there are now? 59.
Wow.
That wasn't collusion. There's no demand.
The market.
There's no market.
Right.
So the same thing goes, who's going to sign a guy, a shortstop, who has so much negative buzz to him for that kind of money?
Right.
And what GM's going to stick his neck out? They've never won. Neither team has ever won with either guy. And by the way, Washington is favored, one of the top 3-4 favorites without Bryce Harper this year because they picked up more pitching. They got Corbin, they got Scherzer, they got Strasburg. You would think if they lose to great Bryce Harper that they would be underdogs, for God's sake.
Right.
Instead, they are getting rid of what I think is a distraction, and I can't forget, and I had to tell Justin Verlander this week, he said, why is everybody not signing these guys? What a dumbass. Because they offered Harper $300 million at the beginning, the Washington Nationals, and he turned it down. Who's that on? It's on Bryce Harper.
Well, I got to tell you this.
Well, whoever was on the chat board and you were reading, I got a out of it. I want to thank you. I was missing that.
Johnny Santucci.
I knew you were. I could tell when you're reading the computer because for some reason, sometimes the earlobes start to cover the holes.
I got busted. Well, he's a big Sox fan, so he's saying that.
Got busted. I invented this game. I know when the host is looking at a computer.
Well, what do you think about the White Sox?
What did he say?
He said that I resemble that remark when you were talking about Sox fans.
Oh my God! Believe me, I've been a Sox fan my whole life. They won 62 games last year. Machado's going to cure everything. My God.
But there are a lot of people.
We act like we're talking about. Machado is a one-player away guy. If you got a chance to win a pennant, you go with what the Dodgers did last year. Mm-hmm. And by the way, he didn't help. Okay?
Yeah.
Harper's a one-player away guy. If he can help put you over the hump, you sign him. My God, 62-win teams going after a guy that's going to eat up tons of money? Give me a break.
But if you have Machado batting third and Eloy Jimenez batting fourth and Jose Abreu batting
Stop it. Every Sox prospect was supposed to be in the Hall of Fame by now. Moncada, who's never going to be, he's not even going to be in the Chicago White Sox Hall of Fame.
Really?
Or even the 16-inch softball Hall of Fame. Okay? Then you got Kopech, whose arm is destroyed right now, and he's getting it fixed.
Yeah.
They have nothing. And Eloy or Eloy, show me. Because I predicted every single guy would be a bust, and so far I'm right. That they got in the sale deal, and now I'm supposed to believe that this guy is going to walk right in. And you know what? Out of all of them, he's the most impressive.
Yes.
But you got to show me now, because I heard this about the other 2 or 3 guys. I've heard this about their young pitching, and I have yet to see this happen. And this team, I heard the other day, Rickon, well, we're only a year and a half into the rebuild. Are you serious?
So 6 straight losing seasons. That's one hell of a.
Are you serious? My God. So in other words, I've always said it. They expected to contend either late this year, show improvement, or early next year. I don't see it happening, but I hope they fool me because nothing would give me greater joy than for these guys to do what the Bears did. It's and their division is not that tough. But, man, the other organizations aren't just sitting around either. It's a joke.
Well, I got to tell you one thing about Eloy Jimenez. He's 22 years old. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. This guy can really smash the baseball. At Double-A last year, he started the season there, played about 40, 50 games. He had 10 home runs, 317 batting average. They promoted him to Triple-A, and his batting average increased by almost 40 points. He had 12 homers and 33 ribbies in about 50 games. I got to tell you, this guy is very, very intriguing.
And Moncada was the number one prospect in all minor league baseball.
That is true.
But the Boston Red Sox traded him to the Sox. They had no problem with him. The White Sox wanted Benedetti, who's now a major leaguer and a good one, and they wouldn't do it. So they settled for sloppy seconds for the Chris Sale deal. That being said, I hope this kid explodes. I saw Frank Thomas do it. If this guy does it, fine. I think Abreu is a good leader. But you know what? He's been a one-man band, so it'd be nice for these things to happen. I just am sick and tired of everybody saying the same people that predicted Moncada, Kopech, and all. And I know the jury's still out on these guys, but so far the arrow's pointing down. So you'll give me the right to reserve the right to see what this guy can do and not worry about what he does for the Charlotte. I mean, when you start promoting Charlotte over the White Sox, that's why you draw 1.5 or 1.6 million.
Well, that's one of the many things I respect about you, Mike North, is that you are a show me kind of guy. I never,
but I do make predictions. But what happens is when people has anybody said Moncada's going to be a bust besides me?
Let's see. Tooch, what are you saying? Tooch is saying, yeah.
You know what? Nobody has said that.
Yeah.
That's in the media.
Yeah.
That's in the media, except me. Nobody has heard anybody on TV, anybody on radio say Moncada's a bust. For Chris Sale, I said he had to hit 290 to 300. He has to hit 25 to 30 homers a year. Mm-hmm. He's got to walk 100. For Chris Sale, I don't care. You can put 10 guys. This guy was the showpiece.
Right.
But he was somebody else's garbage. That's it.
Man, I hope you're wrong. I mean, we need some winning baseball on the south side of Chicago.
We need this new guy to come through. And out of all of them, here's the kid I like. Now, I may be wrong about this, but I've been right about everybody else so far.
Okay.
That doesn't mean these guys aren't going to come back.
Right.
I just got to tell people what I do. I got paid millions of dollars to observe. And if I tell you a 62-win team is going to win 90 games and bring extra people to the park because they pick up Machado, check out Baltimore's attendance with Machado and do me a favor, Aldo.
Okay.
While I'm babbling along, can you tell me what Baltimore's attendance was the last 5 years?
Sure.
Just look it up on the computer, and I'll just fill in some time because the nonsense that people are going to drive from Park Ridge, Arlington Heights, Yorktown, Roselle even, to see Manny Machado? I don't buy it. Because why didn't that happen in Baltimore? You know what? He is an A-Rod. So what do we got, Aldo? We got something there?
Yeah, I do. Let's see. Let's see. They got $1.5 million in 2018, $2 million in 2017,
They were contending.
2.1 in 2016, 2.2 in 15, 2.4 in 14, 2.3.
You know what? I apologize to him. It's better than I thought. You had Buck Showalter and you had Machado. I'll give them all the credit in the world. You have Adam Jones, and that was with some racial problems and stuff in Baltimore.
Exactly. Big time.
So I'm going to backtrack. No, I'm not going to backtrack. I'm going to say I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But here's the key.
Well,
because maybe they know something because they outdrew the White Sox.
Yes. True. Well, here's something that's interesting here is that they were, in terms of attendance last year, they were 14th out of 15th, it says here. I'm not quite sure.
That's not good.
That's not good. And then before that...
But see, Machado was let go, and the team was absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Adam Jones had a bad year. I don't know. I think Showalter, people got they're tired of the act. I mean, the whole thing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I got a feeling that if this guy comes to the White Sox. I think that there could be a spark, and if they bring up Jimenez after he's got to serve like 2 weeks in the minors for the White Sox to have control of his contract. That could be a really good middle of the lineup.
He's the guy I think will bring in more people, but once again, the same people that write about it's good to let Arrieta go, and this is a good deal. The Moncada deal's a good deal. Those are the same people that are telling us about Eloy. I don't believe them anymore, so I got to see it myself, but I like your scenario. Abreu, Eloy, maybe if they did get Machado. I just think the White Sox, San Diego's met with Machado for the second time now. I think the White Sox are yesterday's news, but I hope you're right.
Now, do you think that Chris Sale trade is one of the biggest busts in Chicago sports history?
No doubt about it. Over Brock and Broglio. Chris Sale said, I want to go get out of here. Clown Town, he did, and he's got a World Series. He's a once in a generation pitcher.
Really?
They let go of Randy Johnson, just like they let go of Jimmy Butler. The same group of people let go of people that don't cooperate.
Yes.
Or have a little rebellious side to them.
Right.
Which ends up costing the player and costing the franchise. There's no reason to you build around Chris Sale. See, I always use when Cub fans say they weren't going anywhere. I have Cub fans tell me they weren't going anywhere with Chris Sale. So I go, then why didn't the Cubs trade Gary Wood?
Right.
When he was younger, they weren't going anywhere with him. They just look at me because see, that's how you trap them. That's how you trap them. And you say, then look what happens. Kerry Wood won 85 games. I remember when the Houston Astros offered up Roy Oswalt for Kerry Wood, and George Hoffman and I had an animated discussion. I said I would take Roy Oswalt in a heartbeat, and I would have been right. Mm-hmm. But see, the Cubs, and ask yourself this question, Aldo. Mm-hmm. Theo Epstein had to go out and get pitching. He had to go get Arrieta. He had to go get Lester. He had to go get Hendricks.
Right.
All from the American League.
Right.
I ask you this question. If Theo Epstein had Chris Sale, Theo Epstein goes out and gets position players and other pitchers and builds around Sale. He don't let him go. You build with a stud like Chris Sale. You don't let him walk and win a World Series with the Red Sox. And that's on Kenny Williams and Jerry Reinsdorf.
I have to agree with you there. As intriguing as those two prospects are that they got in the deal, I think there were 4 players the Sox acquired, but clearly the two top players they acquired. They were intriguing prospects. Yeah, it doesn't look good right now. It really doesn't.
Well, all I'm going to say is you don't trade a guy like Chris Sale, a once-in-a-generational pitcher, for potential.
Yeah.
You got to get – I said this, and people thought I was nuts, and I wasn't. If they want Chris Sale, you offer Chris Sale in a trade for Mike Trout. Mm-hmm. You offer Chris Sale in a trade for a top-flight major leaguer and prospect.
Right.
Chris Sale, you don't offer Chris Sale for a bag of balls and then use him as a scapegoat, or we can't win with him. How did Boston win with him?
Right. And you know what? From a business standpoint, Chris Sale was that one White Sox player where I would look at the schedule and say, well, I think Chris Sale is pitching that day. That's the game I want to go to.
Absolutely.
Because that guy was just fascinating to watch on the mound. He was. And here's
great. Another thing: he was player-friendly contract.
Mm-hmm.
He had a great contract with the White Sox.
Exactly.
They let him go because he knew that first of all he was playing for a guy that couldn't manage a little league team, Robin Ventura. Mm-hmm. Seriously, the locker room was in chaos with Adam LaRoche's kid. The uniforms. I'm not saying Sale was a tool. Sale engineered this to get out.
Yes.
And I'm not going to respect him for that, but you see NBA players do it, and you see other players do it like Jimmy Butler, and it's okay.
Right.
Sale said, I got to get out of here. I only have limited time left, like Kevin Durant. He did the Durant.
Yes.
And he's got a World Series ring, and we're stuck with prospects? Give me a break. and by the way, look up what people thought of the Chris Sale in the media trade.
Yeah.
They'll say it was a genius thing.
Yes.
Look up the Reinsdorf TV station. Look up past quotes. My God, it's a joke.
The Reinsdorf TV station. Now, I got to say
Man,
this.
I just got a twinge. Hold on. Oh, I'm all right. I just was sitting rough.
I got to say
I'm as
this.
passionate about this stuff as I am about the Bears.
I know.
I know we're on Bears Bar Room, but, we do our all-around show, and Aldo's going to – you will not notice it. You will notice more heat out of me coming about because of the stupidity of the White Sox and the Bulls and the Hawks at times.
Yes. Hey.
Over the supposed genius of Jerry Reinsdorf and the White Sox for trading Chris Sale. No, they don't get. Everybody covers them with a velvet glove.
Yeah, and don't worry, Mike North Advantage listeners who tune in to listen to Bears Talk. We will have plenty of Bears Talk through free agency and the draft and when training camp starts and so forth. But we've got to talk some baseball. We've got to talk some basketball.
We talk the Bears now. Nobody's going to listen. It's not right. Unless we pick up somebody. Or unless, Aldo wants to talk about Adrian Amos. And that's it.
My favorite topic. My favorite offseason topic.
I don't know what you want me to do. I'm over here.
I was going to say this. When you brought up Robin Ventura's name, and immediately what I thought of when I heard your rant there was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was a guy who is a guy that controls that locker room. I mean, he can have a Randy Moss. He can have a Corey Dillon. He can have all these malcontents, bring them onto the team, and he gets them straight because there's a winning culture, a culture of accountability, and Robin Ventura couldn't do that with the Chicago White Sox, and it retarded their progress as a ball club. I mean, that's the importance of having a leader or leaders in the clubhouse, and the White Sox have just struck out on so many occasions.
What I'm going to tell everybody is the truth. I mean, Robin Ventura should never have managed in the major leagues. He was given the opportunity by the worst owner in sports, Jerry Reinsdorf. And Jerry Reinsdorf marvels really is rivaling Paul Brown now. Not Paul Brown, whatever the guy's name, Mike Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals is the worst owner in sports. Bottom line is, if you don't get along and follow, after Ozzie Guillen and all of the commotion in a World Series, Reinsdorf wanted the more corporate yes or no, sir, manager from Ventura. Rick Renteria, I give him all the respect in the world. He does the best he can. But Rick Renteria, if you watch him manage a game, in-game, I see mistakes all the time that aren't highlighted anymore in the papers like they used to be because they don't want the printed word, the writers that do the printed word, they don't want the White Sox or anybody else in Chicago to get the wrong idea that, heaven forbid, they criticize them. So that's just the way it is. They don't have the right manager. They don't have the right coaches. Robin Ventura could not develop a player, and yet he was the manager of the team.
Renteria was unceremoniously kicked out of the Cubs managing job. I got a question for you. Do you think Renteria would have had the same kind of success as Joe Madden, given that the Cubs were so talent-heavy when Madden first came onto the scene for the Chicago Cubs? Do you think Renteria could have had similar success?
Win a World Series, no.
No.
Joe Madden went to the World Series with Tampa. Mm-hmm. Rick Renteria's Bernie Bickerstaff of the NBA. He's the guy that whenever you need a sappy uncle, sappy uncle hugger guy that's going to encourage, speaks a couple languages, I'm sure, can communicate with the players. He's the uncle that comes over, plays catch with you, stuff like that. Goes out, orders a pizza. You spend the day with them, and then that's it. He's not a guy that is relative to the Chicago White Sox at the end of the day, winning a world championship. But nobody is really, except Ozzie Guillen. And what's he doing? He's struggling to get to the. They finally let him go back to the White Sox convention. You imagine that?
Yeah.
Yes, I imagine that. I mean, how can you not have the guy? At least. I mean, things got so bad because that's the way usually things end up with Reinsdorf and with people that used to work with him. Unless you're Tony La Russa, who could tell you probably the scent of deodorant that Reinsdorf uses on his underarms, or Harold Baines, who could tell you how his shoes smell, then I think basically your chance of survival, if you have a thought of your own, are in trouble.
Oh, my goodness. Mike, hilarious stuff. Now, Joe Madden is on his last year.
I'm just telling you how I feel. We're just here, innocent guys just having a little fun.
A little morning
This is how people, this is what the real fan thinks about in Chicago, and not just the people that jump on Twitter who have White Sox profiles. I mean, you're a 40-year-old man, and you got a baseball team as your profile, and you're going, he's going to be good. There's no winning an argument with a guy like that. He's the guy with the Sox tattoo on his arm. Okay? Okay? I mean, that's it. I mean, you're not winning an argument with any fans of any team.
That's right.
Including Bear fans.
You're not going to
with
change
the Bear
it.
logo as your profile. You're 54 years old. You live in a basement apartment. You can't put two and two together. But and you're promoting a team that could care less about you, basically, at the end of the day.
All right, last baseball question. Do you think Joe Madden is...
I don't want people to get the wrong idea.
No, of course not.
Oh, never.
Do you think Joe Madden is going to be the Chicago Cubs manager in 2020 and beyond? He's on the last year of his contract.
Here's what I think. You get rid of him, you're going to get somebody not as good. You get rid of him, I think it's a big year for him, though. He's got to show that he can make some adjustments. It's not all about Joe. He's got to make some adjustments. Sometimes he gets ahead of the players. And you know what's cute when they're in their first, second, third, fourth year. But these guys, now you've got to prove that 2016, which was, I think, ahead of schedule, wasn't a fluke. Because they could end up being the 85 Bears, make the playoffs and fizzle out. We thought the Bears were going to win 2-3 Super Bowls, and things didn't happen. This is a huge year for him. I think he's going to come through, and if you get rid of him, he'll be picked up in 5 minutes by another team. In fact, if the White Sox were smart, that's the guy you pick up if he's dumped.
That would be interesting to see him move over to the South Side.
But he'd ask for $6 million and wouldn't have full control of the baseball team.
Well, then
that would end that.
Yeah, exactly.
That would end that.
Exactly. He is one of the most, maybe in my lifetime of following baseball, I find Joe Madden to be the most interesting manager. I don't agree with a lot of the moves that he's made and so forth. Sometimes I think he overmanages. But, man,
sure.
is he a fascinating guy? He really is.
Well, it's about his brand. And that's okay. Look at Ditka. But you know what happened to Ditka? One time. So I think you got to start getting these players. You set the tone. You know, when you're pounding, wine at Binny's in a TV commercial, and doing other things, that's great. But Ditka got accused of being, and I know you got to take care of the sponsors. And the players too. The players, and Rizzo's a good guy. I understand that. He gives to charities, just like a lot of other athletes do. That do it on the lowdown.
Right.
Do it on the quiet.
Yes.
We hear about his wonderful, hey, I gave this away, I gave that away. And you know what? It's great when you let that out. But you know what? Hit 300. Hit 290. They all had down years last year. All had down years last year. And I think it's hard for people to criticize certain players because they do such great things off the field. And that's got to stop.
Yes.
That's got to stop. I mean, that's great you do that. You make a lot of money, and it's the most... And I love Anthony Rizzo for that. Here's what I want you to do now. Don't smile in the dugout when we're fighting for our lives and the fans are verklempt in a playoff game. Start setting the tone that you're a leader because Theo Epstein questioned their leadership last year. And if I checked last, I thought Rizzo was supposed to be the leader of the players, and he questioned it, period.
You know what the music means? It means we need to make some money.
That the Cubs aren't going to talk to me anytime soon? How did I do last week?
Well, if I recall correctly, I believe you went 2 for 2, baby, making some money.
So, in other words, what you're saying is 4-0 for the first 2 weeks, right?
That is correct, 4-0.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame. We'll just keep talking from. You know what? What's great is everybody will look at the cool dudes. You know what I mean? And the guys on the networks and everything else that make picks and the networks that push these people, and they won't look at me and Aldo. You know where we are? They can't find us. We're in the lifeguard chair. Remember the lifeguard chairs?
Yes.
They're 10 feet high. I look down on them all. Period.
I love it. Well,
you got to climb up to my altitude, boys. Welcome to Mount Everest of handicapping. Okay, you ready to go 0-2 after me gloating?
No. You know what happens? You go 0-2 when I say I agree with those picks. That's when you go 0-2.
Well, last week you went nuts and I said you're crazy. Okay? All right, here we go.
All right.
All right, number one. It's a really bad score, but we got the All-Star. I mean, is it the All-Star game coming up?
Yeah, the NBA All-Star game, right.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, if between me trying to jump over the third rail, okay, on the L tracks, or watching the NBA All-Star game, I'm heading for the Thorndale platform. That's me. Okay? So I'm not going to be one of those guys, I'm going to watch the skills competition, I'm going to watch the three-point shot. I'll watch the highlights. I'm done with that. This nonsense. The final score, 220 to 199 or whatever. Okay?
Yeah. You think there's ever been a defensive highlight from an NBA All-Star game?
No, but I'd like you to do me a little favor.
Yes.
Could you do me a favor?
Sure.
Can you rip up the resume I had typed up for marketing for the NBA? Could you rip that up? I don't think I'm going to get the job anytime soon.
I just put it through the shredder. It's gone.
My God. All right, here we go.
All right.
Aldo, this is a game that's mesmerizing America. It's the St. Joe. It's St. Joe's versus Davidson.
Oh, okay? My goodness.
We'll call it college. NCAA. Okay? I was going to bet some hockey, but I got a perfect record, so what do I want to do? I'm going to go with St. Joe's getting 11, playing a tough Davidson team. Now, what do I know about these teams? Not much, okay? Well, I'm a realistic handicapper. If you ask a handicapper where some of these schools are even at, they won't know.
That's true.
I don't know where Davidson's at.
I don't know either.
The only Davidson I ever knew was a bakery on Thorndale and Broadway. Davidson Bakery. That's all I know. But I do know this. I've seen them both in the tournament. I can go back in time. Jim Lynham from St. Joe's beating DePaul. Davidson, always been a representable team. But I have the system. With my system, I don't even have to know who a player is. I don't even have to know where the school is. And I'm going to know my Dukes, and I'm going to know my St. Bonaventures, my UCLAs, teams like that. But really, at the end of the day, if I don't know anything about them, the system that has been ultimately successful and has put me at the top of the handicapping world is basically how I pick these games. So I'm going to take St. Joe's plus 11 in that game. Okay, Aldo?
St. Joe's
11, and it's going to be on TV tonight for everybody to turn it on if you have DirecTV.
All
and
right.
It's going to be maybe on, let's see if it's going to be on ESPN. I think it's even on ESPN too.
I'll look it up.
You're going to look it up?
I will look it up. Yes, sir.
All right, now, this is a tough rivalry. This rivalry here is something that, I mean, Katie bars the door. I'm going to bring back some old cliches. You know, tear up the record books. You know, the record books mean nothing in this game. What happened 10 years ago isn't apropos to today when it's Northern Kentucky against Wright State. Nothing. Nothing will take away. Now, in this game, and it's not Wright Junior College, folks. No. Not the Chicago people. We have a junior college called Wright that I used to play against when I played for Truman Junior College. Wright
That's
is
correct.
-1 against Northern Kentucky, +1. Take Northern Kentucky. I don't even know what their name is. You know, I don't know if they're the Musketeers, if they're the Cavaliers, if they're the Chandeliers, you know, if they're the Lampaliers. I don't even know if there's a word called Lampalier. But take Northern Kentucky +1 and take St. Joe's +11. Remember this, folks. When it comes to handicapping, I'm going to win. But when it comes to me picking teams where I don't even know where they're at, I'm at a 66% rate. That's it.
I love
so
it.
St. Joe's and Northern Kentucky. Aldo, back to you.
All right. Well, Northern Kentucky, I'm trying to find the name of the school here.
You
but
can't even find it.
I can't even find it on their website.
I
That's
do
crazy.
know it's in Kentucky up north.
I can tell you
Somewhere up
this, that ESPN2 will cover the St. Joseph Hawks versus Davidson Wildcats. And as for Northern Kentucky and what the team name is, I'm going to leave that up for somebody else to research because it's not even on their website. I don't get it.
And they're playing Wright State, which is usually a team that can sneak into the tournament every so often.
Right.
I mean, these teams are familiar only when they get into the tournament, but you can make a name for yourself in the tournament like George Mason did. The kid that ended up went. I don't know what his name is. He ended up from George Mason. He went to Texas or Texas A&M, one of them places. But you can make hay like Loyola did last year. How many people knew where Loyola was? A lot of them thought it was Loyola, Maryland, and then Loyola, Chicago. That's still stunning, and I don't think we made a big enough deal about it.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And by the way, Harp4803 says, I think Harp likes to gamble, but he says, boy, you got to be a degenerate to be betting on those games, and he's got a smiley face.
Yeah, well, you know what? I got safety deposit boxes that say it's good to be a degenerate if you pick right. Okay?
That's hilarious.
I'm not the one. Hey, I love people questioning not Harp. Harp's a great guy, and I'm sure he does well. But people that question my picks, that say I can't talk to you anymore on Twitter, I got to go for my job at Subway, just keep moving. Just keep moving. Because if you take my picks and you bet your money on them, at the end of the day, Aldo saw it with his own eyes.
Oh, yes.
You could quit your second job, even your first job. I would have made people 30-some thousand this year during the Bear season if you bet the right way.
I agree with you.
Come on.
Trust me.
Aldo blew it with the first 5 weeks.
Trust me, I opened up an account. I talked to my financial planner. Says, open up the Mike North betting account so that I can have money for next NFL season to lay on some games. He says,
I was on a show, and one of the guys goes, boy, you were really hot at the beginning. Well, it doesn't matter when you were hot.
Yes.
That beginning carried me to the best year, a great year.
Yes,
you
indeed.
were hot at the beginning. What, are you telling me, I fizzled out. I didn't go 18-1-1 every 20 games.
Yeah.
If I go 10-8, if I go 8-10, it don't matter.
Yeah.
I finished 14, 15 games above 500. These are the type of people that you're going to get when gambling starts going more mainstream.
Yes.
People that are clueless about gambling.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And this is an exciting time for people who like sports and people who like to place a bet and so forth, because it is becoming more mainstream. And one of the reasons that I love the fact that we have Mike North here at the Bears Barroom is because of his handicapping background, because of his expertise at this. And you cannot deny that the guy does his stuff. And I've read it on Twitter from our social media followers all over the place. I've read that Mike North knows his stuff when it comes to betting, and so anyone.
Well, I'll give you one better. This nonsense that it's going more mainstream, or they're not ready for it yet.
Right.
I did a show called the NFL Handicap Show in 1989 on 1240 WSBC, and that's how. And by that show, I ended up getting my job on the Score. So the nonsense that people aren't ready for handicapping yet. Wait a minute. We treat handicapping like this country treated porn in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when everybody else was doing frontal nudity in Europe and across and every other country. And when you'd read in Playboy that you'd see scenes that were cut out from movies featuring Bridget Bardot
That's right.
and other things because they didn't want to show frontal nudity.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about with gambling. You're not ready. Gambling's been huge in this country since the 30s. It's the people, the program directors and stuff that seem like they're afraid to make the full commitment. They don't even realize what they have. It's a moneymaker.
It is. It really is. And I can't believe we just compared porno and gambling together, but it makes perfect sense to what you just did there.
That's how we treat. Listen, in 1960, take it from me, there was no computers.
No.
And there was nothing. So me and my buddies, we weren't alone. This was a Chicago tradition. People used to take their magazines, whether it was Life, Look, Saturday Evening Post, Time, or Playboy. And when they were done with them, or they got too many of them, they'd either throw them in the garbage in the back, which was 50-gallon drums back in the day,
right.
Not the stuff they use now, or they'd put them and bundle them up and put them by the cans. Guess who used to, when we were 11, 12, 13, so we could see something, see what women look like, okay? Guess who used to to go down the alleys. And then guess who would hit the occasional Playboy? We would, and go back to the schoolyard and look at him. We would. That's just the way it is. Now these kids are 9 and they're on the school bus looking at it.
I think we have a new open for the show.
Well, I'm serious. These kids now, I have a buddy. He's got 2 kids. Okay, lives in the northern suburbs. On the internet, he says they're looking at stuff at 10 and 11 that we would have.
Oh my God!
We would have looked at it and we would have thought it was an alien landing.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. Oh
my God!
gosh.
He says it's a big problem. They're looking at stuff on the school bus.
Oh my goodness! I
wish we would have had computers back then.
Well, you were a dropout at what, your sophomore year of high school? If you would have had computers.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
If you
no, look, it wasn't about chasing the girl. You chase the girl. Once you get to her, now what?
Exactly.
I mean, you're 13 years old. Where are you going?
Thank God for porno, you know.
If it wasn't for porn, look, there's guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s now that look at porn. It's a revelation to them now. You mean I could have done this?
Exactly.
My God.
Is that how you do it?
All I used to see is girl, like when I go to a movie, you go, I remember they used to show all the top movie stars in nude scenes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them would be overseas, whether it be Bridget Bardot or Mamie Van Doren or Elke Summer or even Raquel Welch. And you'd see nude scenes for the movie in Europe, and then the same movie would play here, and you wouldn't see them.
That's true. That is very, very true. Did you ever
but
go?
I just want you to know I don't keep track of this stuff.
Did you ever go to the downtown porno movie theaters, like the Cine Stage, and there was another one on Monroe Street?
There was a one called the Oak.
The Oak. That was
the Oak.
Next to where I grew up on Western.
Right. Now listen to this. I had a buddy.
Okay.
I won't mention his name. We had one guy. And we were 15, 16, 17, whatever. We had one guy that would take the bus and go down to that movie theater.
To the Oak, really?
And watch the movie, yeah. I mean, my God, that was like, finding, if you liked girls, and, he would take her, and he would take the bus. And then we'd see him the next day on the street corner, we'd bust his you-know-what, and have some fun, And then a couple of the guys went. I never went to that.
Heart 4803 reminds us that the Admiral Theater has been showing adult movies.
Well, the Admiral Theater, I'll give you a story about the Admiral Theater.
Oh, good.
And I hope that this is good for the auto battery.
Yeah.
So my buddy back in the 60s, who I still see, he was one of the guys who was at the bowling party that we had with him. He had some Italian relatives. He's Italian, and he had some Italian relatives. And these 2 prominent guys, and the so-called boys had interested in the Admiral Theater at the time. I have no idea what's going on now. We painted the offices upstairs, me and him. Mm-hmm. They didn't even farm it out for painters. They just they paid us, and we painted the offices. Now, it's come a long way, the Admiral Theater, since then. I called it on Fox, and I made the Admiral Theater famous nationally. I said it was the Wrigley Field of strip joints. In other words, everybody, like when you go to Vegas, the strip like Paradise or those places, they're all lit up and everything else. You're driving down Pulaski, okay, you hang a right on Lawrence,
right.
You go down and boom, it's Wrigley Field. It's right in the middle of the neighborhood.
It is.
Kids going to school, walk by it every day. At night, if you're driving to get something to eat, you see the strippers leaving through the back or front door, getting in their cars, saying goodbye to everybody. They show films, and then you meet the in fact, what's her name was there? The young lady or the lady that was with, allegedly, Stormy Daniels.
Oh, yeah,
She was there.
Yeah, right. I saw big
And
billboards.
so in other words, it was like, the Giants are coming to town with Barry Bonds. Get your tickets, at the Admiral Theater, because she was the big name.
It's amazing how long the Admiral Theater has been around. I mean, they were around when I was a kid, so they, have been doing adult fare for 40 or 50 years.
Believe me, I was in that place a couple times, but we were young. We were 14. We were contracted, if you will, to paint the offices upstairs. And you know what? And there was nothing going on back then. It was a different deal. Now they have the girl. I mean, it was. I'm not. It just is accentuated now because of what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
It was a big different ball game in the 60s and 70s. Now it's a mainstream deal. They have award shows for these people. For the people that they have like an Oscars, you know?
Best
at least that's what I hear.
Best manual manipulation scene.
Yeah. Person that used the mechanical robot the best. I mean, if you want to really talk about how everything accentuates now because of the computer, just watch Boogie Nights.
Yes.
Just watch how it used to be.
Great movie, yes. Mark
Great
Wahlberg.
movie. Burt Reynolds. Watch Boogie Nights.
Mm-hmm.
That will give you an idea. There used to be a story to these things.
Yes, they used to make
You
real
know what I
movies,
mean?
right? With plots, beginning, middle, and end. And now it's just
Right.
the end.
Now it's just, I'm almost finished.
Right. It's climax scene after climax scene.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we got into this topic. And
Well, because we're talking about the evolution of everything. We talked about gambling.
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat gambling. Look, everybody, Brent Musburger and those guys got a network. I'm serious. They do it every day. So, they're not ready for the winners, apparently.
No. Now, this network that Musburger is on, I think you've mentioned before that he's really not very good at doing the handicapping part of it.
Look, I like Brent Musburger, and I don't care if he likes me or not, or anything else. I'm going to just say this. That's a house show, period. Mm-hmm. And they don't want somebody coming in and going 9-2 because the people at South Point will walk right in there. I mean, that's it. I'm not saying the handicappers I see on there, they should have a league. My goal is to have a league of handicappers.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And keep track of everybody. And then you separate the men from the boys. See, I'm documented every week, whether it's the Sun-Times, whether it's Vegas Scores and Odds. You can go there right now. I'm the third that ever did it. Third best that's ever done it there. Or you could go to the Sun-Times or Bears Barroom.
Right.
Every one of them. How about the other people? You'll see, hey, we were 3-1. And then you don't hear from them for a month.
That's right.
So apparently you weren't 3-1 every week or every day.
Yeah, they advertise after
I'd like to see a gambling league. People would watch it. Thursday night, somebody will steal the idea. They'll have a TV show and do a gambling league.
I agree.
And you heard it here first.
I agree.
Because then that's what's going to end up happening, and people would be more interested in that than the damn regular season of the NHL or NBA.
Yeah, you know what's become real popular now are these e-leagues where it's kids playing video games against one another, and other people are tuning in to watch that. I think that just as popular could be a gambling league where you're following these top handicappers, and they're talking about their bets, they're doing a little trash talking and bragging about themselves. That would be really entertaining.
Well, what would hurt the gambling league is half these guys that think they're so good would crap the bed, and it would hurt their status.
That's true.
But the other half would look good. Look, I've worked for people that are good at what they do, so I wouldn't worry about them. I'd worry about the people on the mainstream. They're the ones that would get hurt. So that's just my opinion. But it would be, I think, great. I hope down the line it ends up being that way, because if you could do it I'm waiting for the first pinball league. Back in the day, when I was playing pinball at the hot dog stand during the slow time, I didn't go to BB, didn't go, boy, hope if you get good enough at this, maybe someday you'll be a millionaire. I don't know how much these guys make. Some make a ton. Maybe that's the new thing down the line. Mm-hmm. But to me, if you're a good gambler, you can make as much money as anybody.
I agree, and with gambling soon to be legal in all 50 states. Well, it is legal in all 50 states. It's just the states that have to, get off their butt and take care of business.
Now, do you think Dick Durbin? He's worried about other things. You think these guys? I don't know how they do it. These politicians. I don't know. We should have this already. What is the slow up?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
You know what? Have one gambling boat with sports only. Do it like you did it back in the old days when you were stupid. Have a boat in the middle of the Fox Lake.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no reason gambling shouldn't be legalized.
Meanwhile, the state's debt continues to climb, and all this money is just there waiting for the taking, so you can help pay.
Because they don't know what they're doing. You got to get gamblers to put the rules in. I mean, you look at the lottery. They don't even run the lottery right.
Yeah,
it's a problem. I mean, they have politicians. Gamblers know 10 times as much about gambling. I mean, good gamblers like myself. If I sit down with Dick Durbin, he's finished. If we start talking gambling, if I sit down with Tony Preckwinkle, she has no idea. Yet they're the ones that are going to legislate, or these other, maybe the House, the Assembly. Illinois is going to have to vote on it. The Assembly people.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? If they let me get in front of, if Mike Madigan or some of these guys let me get in front of the Assembly and explain gambling, they'd all be better off, because these people are going to pass rules like they do with everything else where they have no idea.
Mike, why don't
Even with the video poker machines.
Why don't you run for office, Mike?
Because I couldn't.
Why?
Because of skeletons.
Those days at the Admiral
Don't
Theater.
act surprised. Look what they did to Kavanaugh. He didn't even do anything.
He was just drinking beer.
You couldn't run for it. You couldn't run for mayor.
Me? Hell no.
They pull out every stop on you.
Oh, my gosh.
Look, if you want to run for mayor or anything, you either got to be media friendly where they'll leave you alone, or a square. Period.
I'm neither
or
one.
President. I mean, look. All you have to do is watch the climate of what's going on both sides. They're all trying to get them on stuff that happened many years ago. Okay, and that's just you can't. That's just going to cut down on the pool.
Oh yeah,
because nobody wants to go through that. Look at the Oscar hosts. They're afraid to even have a guy's afraid to host the Oscars because they're going to look for something.
Some tweets.
I'd love to host the Oscars. I think I could host the Oscars better than half the guys that have hosted it. But do you agree that, I mean, Kevin Hart, for instance, apologized 3 times.
At least.
And every time he goes to get a job, so he finally said, I've had enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a sad situation. He did some tweets, that years ago he apologized back then, and now he's got to apologize over and over again. That's weird.
Well, I think that when you apologize, I think that's tough, because then you're admitting that at that time that you shouldn't have said it. There's things, people evolve, and certain people are allowed to evolve, and other people, they'll keep you back if you want to move forward like this guy did and host the Oscars. I mean, do you want to know something? If there would have been TMZ and all this, Bob Hope back then couldn't have hosted the Oscars after a certain amount of time.
What did he have in his closet?
You don't know?
I'm trying to remember.
He had affairs with people left and right.
Really? Left and right? Up and down, left and right, really?
Well, see, that's the point. See, that's the point. They didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is watch Sam Bauer, the Hollywood pimp, read that book called Room Service, and watch the documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite movie stars had to do their stuff in hiding.
Right. I saw you put that up on Twitter about that movie, yeah.
And he's got a book called Room Service. Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, Randolph Scott, all these guys and people that had their own sexual habits, that if they were ever put out in public, they would have been ruined. Ruined. So this guy would bring in, he had a gas station on Hollywood Boulevard. He had a big trailer in the back that had 2 bedrooms, but he also had a deal with motels, and he would supply people for the movie stars. Charles Lawton, Cole Porter. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Earl Flynn on that
Good
list?
stuff. What?
Earl Flynn on that list?
He was not from the one I read.
Okay.
I think he just didn't give a damn.
Heart 4803 says Rock Hudson and Van Johnson were guys that had secret lives.
Rock Hudson, listen to this. This is what this guy says. And they had, what was cool, Aldo, is they had a lot of this guys, escorts, who were guys and a couple girls and other girls. They had some of them on now in 2018 from the 50s, right? And one guy got paired up. Well, the one guy, that Sam Bauer, he ended up in a 3-way with Ava Gardner and Lana Turner.
Whoa!
But he also arranged Cary Grant and Rock Hudson.
Wow.
This documentary, it's on Stars. Watch it. It's a great documentary. I don't think TCM is too crazy about it, to be honest with you.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, somebody else, they asked him. He said, I would have never done this unless everybody was dead. But you know who's not dead? The families.
Exactly.
You know, the 12-year-old finding out great-grandpa is this or that, you know? And you see that now with political hearings and everything else, and some of it isn't true, and you're a 14-year-old kid who respects whoever's up there on either side, and they're getting dragged through the mud, and a lot of it's not true.
Yeah, that's the sad thing about it. They're not alive to, counteract that and to protect their reputation.
Yeah, but they have so much evidence. They got so much evidence, and he's got paperwork. He's got numbers. I mean, he owned a gas station on It's a really interesting story. It was a Richfield gas station on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was right there where all the stars used to get gas. And that's how it all started.
Wow. I got to check that out.
Well, you could look it up, and he never opened his mouth. He was a gentleman, and it was pretty interesting.
So the book is called Room Service, and the documentary is named what?
Scotty Bauer, the Hollywood Years. You could look it up on the thing. I think it's up on. You could Google that. Sam Bauer, the secret Hollywood years. It's about the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. A lot of your favorite stars.
Yeah.
A lot of your favorite stars who just lived lives that they had to live in secret because of discrimination. You know.
I am definitely going to put that one on the list of things to watch. And
is this great where the show ended up?
That's right, talking about pornography, secret sex lives. Heidi wants to know.
I want you to know I just bump into this stuff. I'm not really into it.
Heidi wants to know where that documentary was. You saw it on DirecTV, the Stars.
On Stars Network, but it's on DirecTV. But look up on Google real fast, Aldo. Google it up so you can give the right information. Because you know what? It's called the Secret Hollywood Years. Sam Bauer. He was a Marine.
I am searching.
You got it?
I am searching Secret Hollywood Lives.
Here, I'll get it. The Secret Hollywood Years. I'll get it real quick for everybody because I don't want to leave everybody. Scotty Bauer, The Secret Hollywood Years. I'm going to talk into the black box. Here we go. All right. Scotty in the Secret History of Hollywood. It's right here. And it's a portrait of unsung Hollywood legend Scotty Bowers, whose best-selling memoir chronicled his decades spent as a sexual procurer to the stars. And you could get it on video if you want. They got some stuff on video there, too.
Great. And we'll put it up at Bears Barroom on our Twitter account. And
I bet people will love it.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see it now.
Because I'm into old movies. And what's crazy, Ramon Navarro, I mean, silent movie star. I mean, crazy, man.
Well, I saw that documentary on Hedy Lamarr. Wow, what a story did she have? She was a brilliant...
Well, Hedy Lamarr is one of the smartest women who ever lived.
Exactly.
She had over 1,000 patents. She has as many patents as Thomas Edison.
Unbelievable.
She was never taken seriously because of her beauty. She's one of the most beautiful women to ever be in Hollywood, but she was far more than that. I saw the documentary, which I love. It was a little slow moving because it's about science.
Right.
It's about invention. It's about the great things she did. She invented basically Wi-Fi, folks.
Yeah,
she invented it.
Exactly.
She invented Wi-Fi. She basically invented the ship-to-radio, the walkie-talkies and stuff.
Right.
That's how great this woman was, and she was a B-movie star, basically.
Yes.
She didn't play in a lot of big roles. She didn't get the roles that a Maureen O'Hara would get, or that a Liz Taylor or people like that would get.
An incredible story. That's another one to take a look at. We'll put the title of that on our Twitter page,
and that's a good one, too, for you people that like your clean living. She was just a wonderful person who got along with everybody, but acting was beneath her.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, this woman.
It was. It was a job to her, but she didn't need it, and she helped the U.S. Army and everything. She was unbelievable. Yeah. I love her. Respect the hell out of her.
Now, Hedy Lamarr, Harp 4803 is asking if Hedy was a redhead. No, she wasn't a redhead. She was a brunette, correct?
No, and she was the inspiration for Hedley Lamar, who was in Blazing Saddles.
Yes.
Harvey Korman, a Senn High School guy, one of us, a public leaguer, played Hedley Lamar in Blazing Saddles, and Mel Brooks, of course, loved Hedy Lamar,
right.
So he named the governor, not the governor, but his staff guy, Hedley Lamar.
Excellent. And that documentary is called Bombshell, the Hedy Lamar story. Highly recommend it. Mr. Mike North, I think it is time to play the closing music. What do you think?
If it's possible to be banned from Wi-Fi, from the internet, this show might have a shot after the graphic nature of the gambling and pornography we talked about. Aldo, as always, it's a great time with you. We get to talk about stuff that would not even be allowed to be talked about on a lot of stations. People would be too scared to do it. I wouldn't. But that's just the way it is. I think you feel the same way.
Absolutely.
But it was a great time. Thanks, buddy. And by the way, we want to thank Tixblitz and the Verdoliaks very much. And St. Joe's, ladies and gentlemen, and Northern Kentucky is my picks tonight.
That's right. St. Joe's +11, Northern Kentucky +1. Those are Mike's picks. And make sure you tune in on Monday, where Mike will have a very special guest for us. And that will be followed by Bears Hour Live with Draft Dr. Phil. Mike North, say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.